Hello again. In this one, I'm going to make a little quick utility that I actually wanted to use myself. And I figured it's such a simple, basic utility that I might as well make it as a video here so that everyone can kind of see how simple it really is. It ties directly into the last video, which was the file operations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple of inputs. And these inputs are going to ask an IP and a host name. And then I'm going to go to my hosts file. And then I'm going to append this to my hosts file so that I will have a modified host file. And I don't have to go find my host file, open it up, and go in through all that kind of rigmarole. I can just kind of type through this quick utility and go from there. So let's first start by getting our inputs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my IP to input what IP. Next, I'm going to say route, and I'm going to say what host name. Let's go ahead and route that. And then I'm going to define hosts. Now, in this case, because once again, I'm running this on a Windows computer, I will be targeting the file path that the host file is in for a Windows machine. However, it is very, very easy to get the path on Linux /OS X, which is /etc/hosts. So for Windows, it's a bit more complicated. Assuming that your Windows is installed on the C drive, it will be c:/Windows/system32/drivers/etc/hosts. And again, these are backslashes I'm using. And then we're going to open it up in append mode. If you were in Linux or OS X, you could do the following. That's it. But since we're not, this is the easy. This whole thing is very easy. If you've been following my videos, this is just extremely simple stuff, and there's really not much to be said about what's actually going on here. But we will close the file, and then just for good measures, let's go ahead and reopen our file. There is slightly better ways to kind of give more proper permissions when you're opening these files, but I figure this is just, this is probably just the easiest way to handle this without putting too much thought into it. All right, so this is our code. What's going on here is we're just simply asking for two inputs, which is the IP and the route, and then we're opening the hosts file with an append mode, and then we're writing to the file, the IP that the user inputted plus a space. And then the host name, which we should probably, let's just change this to host name instead of route. And then we add a new line. Basically what this does is it sets up the route that we need for the host file. It takes your IP, a white space character. In Windows, you need to be a little careful because some versions of Windows, the tab character is not considered white space when dealing with hosts, and in some version of Windows, it works just fine. I usually prefer using the tab character because then all the host names are pretty much lined up in a more readable format. In this case, I'm just going to put a space in because it's the safest and it's the most compatible with both Windows, OS X, Linux, and all the various flavors. Then we close the file because we've done our writing. We're going to open it again with just read permissions, and then we are going to read the file. Now, this will not work. The reason it will not work is because you must have elevated permissions to modify your host's file. In Windows, that means that you have to run the actual Python file or the Python script in administrator mode. Luckily, let's go ahead and save this. I have gone ahead and booted up a PowerShell with administrator access, and all we have to do is run this file. If you were running on OS X or Linux, you will need to sudo or super user do. And once you do that, you may be prompted for your password. You type your password in, and that will give that one command elevated permissions to modify your host file. This is just in this specific case because host files change the routing of your system and are usually operating system level files. You usually just don't want any Tom, Dick, or Harry or random script 101 to run and modify your stuff. So in this case, yes, I'm an administrator. You can see little administrator right there. I've got my thing typed in. Let's go ahead and run it and see what we get. We're going to ask for our IP. We're going to say 127.0.0.1. That's our local IP. So if you ever want to refer to your own computer, it is 127.0.0.1. And then for our host name, we are going to say this is happytest.com. All right. So then I print out my host file. Yes, you'll see that I am blocking an awful lot of Microsoft services. So here you'll see I have added to the very bottom this here. So we're routing to ourself, happytest.com. Now, if you hit happytest.com, it will bring up your local host. Now, sadly, I am not actually running any web services at this very moment, so it'll simply give you a error. This site cannot be reached. But if you were doing something like maybe running a, some kind of Python web client or Node or a Rails server, or simply even it's just a simple port 80 HTTP server or whatever, if it was on your computer, you could access it through that domain. And so one of the things you'll see a lot of developers like myself do is constantly add new projects to our hosts file so that we don't have to go to 127.0.0.1 whatever port we have to access that. We could actually just go to local dot whatever the page is .com. So if I was working on a client and the client is Acme Inc., I could go to local.acmeinc.com, which would take me to my own machine, even though I'm hitting the web browser at what looks like to the external viewer as a remote domain. So that's a little bit of random information and a little bit of me going into something that I really want to do, which was build this tool because I actually would use this tool very often. And so now I'll have something like this. And you know what would be really great? I think in the next upcoming video, let's go ahead and add a GUI to this. I think that'd be fun. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.